If there's one thing the Cleveland Browns didn't need in the middle of a quarterback competition, it's Jimmy Haslam grabbing a mic and stirring the pot like it's Thanksgiving dinner. But here we are. The billionaire owner of the Browns, yes, that Jimmy Haslam, decided to drop a completely unprompted comment about rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders that sent the NFL world into a tailspin. He wasn't my pick. That's it. That's what he said. No context. No clarification. Just 7 words that lit a match and tossed it straight into the powder keg.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Because let's be real, when the owner of one of the most dysfunctional quarterback franchises of the 21st century goes out of his way to distance himself from a rookie before the season even starts, that's not just bad optics. That's football malpractice. And the reaction? Swift and brutal. Within hours, NFL legends, analysts, and fans across the country were lighting up the Browns' front office with a kind of righteous fury normally reserved for missed game-winning field goals. But one voice stood out louder than the rest. Shannon Sharpe. Sharpe didn't hold back. On his podcast, on TV, on social media, he came at Haslam with facts, history, and the kind of verbal footwork that would make a boxer jealous. This man has overseen 35 quarterbacks since 2000, Sharpe said, with the fire of someone who's seen enough. 35. And now he wants to play talent evaluator? Shedeur wasn't your pick? Bro, nothing was your pick. You've been guessing for 20 years. And honestly, he's not wrong. From Tim Couch to Johnny Manziel to Deshaun Kaiser to Baker Mayfield to the current chaos, Haslam's quarterback decisions have ranged from questionable to catastrophic. The Browns' QB room has been a rotating door of confusion, chaos, and crushed potential. So when that guy decides to throw shade at a rookie quarterback who hasn't even started a regular season game, yeah, people are going to have something to say. But here's what makes this even wilder. Shedeur Sanders didn't say a word. No tweet. No clapback. No passive-aggressive Instagram story. Just silence, focus, and quiet preparation. Because if there's one thing Shedeur's been consistent about throughout his rise, it's that he doesn't flinch. He doesn't let the noise control the narrative. And that might be the most terrifying part for Haslam and anyone else hoping to rattle this kid. Because this isn't just some backup trying to earn a spot. This is Shedeur Sanders. He's been doubted at every level, criticized for his name, undervalued for his background, overlooked because he didn't come through the traditional pipeline. And every single time, he's made them eat their words. So when Jimmy Haslam takes a cheap shot like this, the timing is almost poetic. Because just as Shedeur is turning heads in camp, just as the media starts whispering about his poise and precision in limited reps, this is what he gets hit with. A reminder that no matter how clean his footwork is or how sharp his reads are, he'll still have to climb a higher hill than most. But if you think that's going to break him, you haven't been paying attention. Let's not forget, this is a player who transferred from Jackson State with the world watching, with skeptics already loading their hot takes. And what did he do? Walked into Colorado and torched ranked opponents in his very first FBS season. Threw for over 500 yards in his debut. Didn't blink. So if you think an offhand comment from a billionaire owner is going to derail him, please. If anything, this just adds fuel to the fire. And that's exactly what NFL insiders are saying. Multiple analysts, from former players to beat writers to coaches off the record, have echoed the same sentiment. This is going to motivate Shedeur Sanders in a scary way. This isn't a player who folds under pressure. This is a player who feeds off disrespect. You think Shedeur didn't hear that he's just a social media quarterback takes? That he's only good because of his dad nonsense? He heard all of it. And he still showed up, worked harder than everyone else, and quietly turned himself into one of the most mature, precise rookie QBs in the league right now. And that's what makes this whole Haslam moment feel like such a self-inflicted wound. Why now? Why say anything at all? If Shedeur succeeds, you look petty and short-sighted. If he struggles, your comment becomes a distraction. There is no winning in throwing a rookie quarterback under the bus before he's even had a chance to start a regular season game. But here's the thing. The Browns might have just stumbled into the best storyline they've had in years. Because now, this is personal. Now, it's not just about performance. It's about proving something. It's about Shedeur Sanders walking onto that field every Sunday, not just to win games, but to rewrite the narrative. He doesn't need his owner's approval. He doesn't need fancy press conferences or overhyped draft picks. He needs a chance. Just one. And when that chance comes, and it will, he's going to make it unforgettable. Because let's face it, Cleveland loves an underdog. The whole city is built on that grit. The fans don't want perfect. They want someone who's real. Someone who's been doubted. Someone who's had to earn every inch of respect. Sound familiar? That's Shedeur Sanders. This isn't just a player now. This is a movement. An anti-establishment, anti-silver spoon, anti-fake, loyalty, redemption arc. And the fans are behind him. You can feel it building. They saw the maturity in his response, or lack thereof. They saw the work ethic, the quiet confidence, the grind. And they want that guy under center. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. And when that day comes, Jimmy Haslam better hope he has a good PR team. Because the second Shedeur lights up a defense, throws a game winner, or leads a comeback, every clip of that "he wasn't my pick" quote is going to haunt him. It'll be stitched into every highlight montage, reposted every week, played on loop in every post-game breakdown. And when Shedeur stands at that podium, unfazed as ever, probably dressed in his own merch and talking about playing for his teammates, you'll remember this moment. This ridiculous, unnecessary, utterly tone-deaf moment where a billionaire tried to clip the wings of a kid who's been flying against the wind his entire career. So yeah, experts destroyed Haslam. Fans dragged him. Media roasted him. But Shedeur? He let his silence speak volumes. And soon enough, he'll let his play do the rest. Because this story isn't about bitterness. It's about the most dangerous thing you can give to someone like Shedeur Sanders. Motivation. You walk into training camp low on the depth chart, not because you're underperforming, but because you're a rookie with a famous last name. You've been hearing the whispers since day one. He's only here because of his dad. He's not ready. He's too focused on his brand. Never mind the film. Never mind the stats. Never mind that you just came off one of the most productive and poised college seasons in the country. In this league, none of that matters. Not when you're wearing the wrong jersey number in the wrong city under the wrong spotlight. So what do? You show up. Early. You're the first one in the facility. You're in the quarterback room before the lights are even on. You've got your iPad open, flipping through cut-ups of nickel packages and disguised blitzes. You're taking notes like you're still a student, because in your mind, you are. You're a rookie. You're here to learn, to earn, to prove you're not just another media darling. And you don't say a word when the reporters ignore you. When they ask the starter 10 questions and lob you one at the end about your adjustment to the NFL pace. You nod. You say it's going well. You thank the coaching staff. You move on. You're not here to talk. You're here to cook. Then comes the moment. Preseason snaps. Finally, you're tossed into the third quarter of a game most people have stopped watching. But you haven't. You've been waiting for this like it's your entire life compressed into 10 minutes of playing time. And you deliver. You don't overreach. You don't panic. You hit your checkdowns. You make smart reads. You control the tempo. You lead a touchdown drive, jog back to the sideline, and don't say a damn thing. But the film? It speaks volumes. The coaches notice. The analysts notice. The other quarterbacks really notice. That's how it starts. Momentum. Buzz. Whispers turning into conversation, turning into comparisons. And then, just as the wind starts to shift, boom. Your own team's owner decides to remind the world. You weren't his pick. No reason. No provocation. No context. Just a cold, calculated statement meant to inject doubt. He wasn't my pick. That's the kind of quote that tells you everything and nothing at the same time. It's not even about football. It's about politics. It's about control. It's about ownership, not just in the business sense, but in the narrative sense. Haslam's comments weren't just offhand, they were territorial. Like he saw the fans starting to believe in Shedeur and felt the urge to plant a flag that said, "Don't forget who makes the decisions here." But here's the problem with that mindset. It's 2025. The fans don't care about billionaire power plays. They care about results. And when it comes to quarterbacks in Cleveland, the fans have had enough of the games. Enough of the inflated hype machines. Enough of the sure things that turned into dead ends. They want something real. And Shedeur Sanders? He's giving them exactly that. Real preparation. Real composure. Real grind. He doesn't need the spotlight. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't even need protection. He just needs the ball and the opportunity to show what he's made of. Because if there's one thing Shedeur's entire football journey has proven, it's this. He's not afraid of a long route. He could have transferred to Alabama, could have sat behind a first-rounder and collected nil checks until the draft. But he didn't. He stayed with his team. He built something. And when he stepped onto the field at Colorado, he made history. Not just as Deion's son, not just as a dual-threat QB with a clean spiral, but as a leader. And that's the part Jimmy Haslam clearly missed. Because this wasn't about picking the flashiest prospect. This was about taking a chance on a quarterback who understands what it means to lead. A quarterback who's been told no since high school, who's been asked to prove it again and again and again, and who, every single time, has. So Haslam's comment? It doesn't land like a power move. It lands like a whimper, like an insecure swipe at a player who's starting to win people over on his own merit. And here's where things start to turn poetic. Because now, the stage is set. Now we're no longer just watching a rookie try to make the team. Now we're watching a full-blown redemption arc in the making. And it's not just about Shedeur proving a billionaire wrong. It's about proving that hard work still matters in a league that too often favors flash over substance. That character, preparation, and resilience can still outshine pedigree and politics. And if you don't think that matters in Cleveland, you haven't been paying attention. This is a city that lives for redemption, that craves comeback stories. The underdog isn't just embraced here, it's canonized. It's religion. And what better quarterback to lead that charge than one who's already lived it? Shedeur Sanders is on the verge of something powerful. Something that's bigger than Haslam's opinion, bigger than any depth chart, and bigger than the business politics that rule most front offices. He's building trust with his teammates, with his coaches, with the fans. And when you start to build that kind of trust, the rest falls into place. Because eventually, numbers don't lie, and the tape doesn't lie. And that moment, that opportunity, is coming. Maybe it's in week 5. Maybe it's after an injury. Maybe it's after a blowout game where the coaches finally give him real reps. But when it comes, it won't be a question of readiness. It'll be a question of how fast he makes the position his own. And when he does, the irony will be glorious. The same owner who said he wasn't my pick will be sitting in a luxury box watching thousands of fans chant Shedeur's name, watching jersey sales spike, watching highlight after highlight as his not-my-pick quarterback commands the field with the poise of a 10-year veteran. And that is how legends are born, not with applause, but with rejection, with adversity, with that one sentence that was supposed to break you, but instead built the foundation for your rise. So let Jimmy Haslam make his comments. Let him pretend like he's playing chess while the rest of us are just watching preseason. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, Shedeur Sanders is about to turn this into a masterclass. And everyone, including the owner, is going to have to sit back and watch the show. Because when the lights eventually get brighter, when the Browns hit their inevitable mid-season identity crisis, because, let's be honest, when don't they, Shedeur Sanders will still be right there. Helmet on, pad strapped, waiting, not complaining, not politicking, just preparing. And that's exactly the part people don't see. What separates quarterbacks in this league isn't always what they do on the field. It's how they prepare off of it. It's the extra hour in the film room. The little conversations with the center about silent counts. The quiet sideline talks with receivers to tweak timing. Shedeur has that part of the game down cold. Even in camp, the vets have noticed. Word spreads fast in locker rooms. You think linemen don't talk? You think safeties don't pick up on body language? These guys know when someone's for real. And Shedeur? He's earned quiet respect because he's consistent, unbothered, and deadly serious. No rah-rah speeches. No corny slogans. Just work. Which makes Jimmy Haslam's comment even more out of place. Even more tone-deaf. He wasn't my pick. Okay, but what if he's your answer? What if, after 25 years of quarterback roulette, you finally stumbled into something stable? Something long-term? Not because you got it right, but because the football gods finally threw Cleveland a bone and put a gamer on your roster without asking permission? Because here's the hard truth nobody wants to say out loud. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need Jimmy Haslam. He doesn't need to be anyone's pick. He's got a family that knows this business better than most executives in the league. He's got a father who's been through every media cycle, every locker room dynamic, every political minefield this league can throw at a player, and come out standing. Shedeur's been built for this. And the more he gets overlooked, the more fire it adds. Let's be honest, this wasn't even the worst thing he's ever heard. Go back to high school. He was dismissed as a system quarterback, said to be propped up by superior talent and favorable matchups. Then he hit Jackson State and the criticism changed. He's not playing real competition. Then he transferred to Colorado, and immediately they said he was in over his head. Too small, too flashy, too prime junior. And then he dropped 510 yards and 4 touchdowns in his FBS debut, and the entire country suddenly remembered his name. That's the pattern. Doubt. Silence. Detonation. So really, Haslam's just playing a role now. He's the next name on a long list of people who tried to write the story before the chapters were even finished. And that's what makes this storyline so cinematic. Because while Haslam talks and analysts rage and the media swirls, Shedeur is sitting back, focused on the long game. He knows that when the regular season hits, all that matters is results. And if he gets that chance, if the coaches put the ball in his hands and let him operate, oh, it's over. Because here's what we're not talking enough about. The kid is good. Not just mechanically sound. Not just mobile. He's cerebral. He plays like someone who's watched 100 hours of tape for every 10 snaps. The eyes are always moving. He manipulates safeties. He knows how to throw receivers open. He protects the ball. And when the play breaks down, he doesn't panic. He creates. That's the kind of quarterback teams dream of. Not just an athlete. Not just a field general, but a guy who gets it. And if he keeps climbing, if he keeps showing out in reps, keeps pushing the ball downfield in scrimmages, keeps operating like the starter even when he's not the starter, eventually, the pressure becomes too much for the coaching staff to ignore. Because the locker room feels that energy. The crowd starts to buzz a little louder every time he's on the field. The media stops calling him Dion's son and starts calling him QB1. And what happens to Jimmy Haslam then? He fades to the background, as owners do when they realize the player they publicly disrespected is now the face of their franchise. The redemption arc writes itself. Game-winning drive. Monday Night Football. The Browns break .500 for the first time in years. Shedeur stands on the field, cool as ever, handing his wristband to a kid in the front row. No theatrics. No I told you so. Just presence. And the post-game press conference? You know what he says. I just want to thank the guys. We've been grinding all season. Still got a lot to prove. Because that's who he is. Shedeur Sanders is not out here for revenge. He's out here to build something. A career. A culture. A legacy that isn't about who picked him or what round he didn't get drafted in. It's about what he did with the opportunity. And if that opportunity grows, if he becomes what his work ethic suggests he can, then Jimmy Haslam's little comment becomes just another footnote in a much bigger story. A story about grit, about self-belief, about a kid who tuned out the noise and just kept climbing. That's the real threat, not to Haslam's ego, but to every defense in the league. Because if Shedeur Sanders gets that shot and he capitalizes on it, The Browns might finally have the one thing they've never had. A quarterback they didn't break. And for once it won't be because they made the right pick. It'll be because he was the right one all along. Even if they couldn't see it. Especially if they couldn't see it. So let them talk. Let the headlines fly. Let the owner squirm behind his press badge. Shedeur? He's got work to do. And when it's time, he'll let the results do the talking. Because that's the thing with Shedeur Sanders. He's not waiting for anyone to hand him the keys. He's learning the system, earning trust, building chemistry with receivers most fans haven't even learned the names of yet. Every rep he gets in practice? Treated like gold. Every preseason snap? Treated like a playoff game. That kind of hunger? You can't manufacture it. It comes from living with a chip on your shoulder for years. From being doubted not just by outsiders, but by the people who are supposed to believe in you. People like your own team's owner. But in Shedeur's world, doubt isn't poison, it's fuel. He's watched legends rise by turning slights into storylines. He's studied the greats, quarterbacks who were overlooked, passed on, told they weren't enough. Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Different styles, different eras, but all united by the same thing. Doubt turned deadly. And that's what we're seeing now with Shedeur. The early chapters of something real. A player finding his voice not through controversy or headlines, but through discipline, patience, and execution. A player who knows how this league works and still believes he can beat the odds. So while the media chews on Haslam's gaffe and experts continue to dismantle his comment from every angle, Shedeur stays silent, focused, ready. Because he doesn't need to defend himself with words. He's preparing to do it with touchdowns. And when that moment comes, and it will come, you won't hear, "He wasn't my pick," echoing through the stadium. You'll hear cheers. Because Cleveland loves an underdog. And they just might be watching their next one, quietly sharpening his game, waiting to turn the entire league into believers.